Hi everyone, my name is Maria Laura. I'm the president of IFTSA ESPOL chapter. On behalf of the student group IFTSA Tecnológico de Monterrey, from Mexico, IFTSA ESPOL from Ecuador, and IFTSA METU from Turkey, please receive a warm welcome to the third and last day of the Food Innovation Summit 2021. It is very important for us that you're here. Today's speaker is PhD Mario Guadalupe with the title Upcycled Food from Trash to Treasure. Mario Guadalupe-Daqui obtained his food engineering degree at the Escuela Superior Politécnica del Litoral, ESPOL, in his hometown, Guayaquil, Ecuador. He recently earned a food science PhD degree from the University of Florida with emphasis in food processing and engineering. During his PhD, Mario researched a modified yeast fermentation process, explaining the potential mechanism of vacuum fermentation based on yeast stress and carbon dioxide concentration. Additionally, he explored different applications of his research within the brewing and distilling industries, publishing and presenting his work at different scientific societies. Mario was a team captain of the group representing the University of Florida at the American Society Baking Product Development Competition, where his team obtained the second place among 12 other universities. Along with his graduate degree, Mario was also a student representative of the IFT Education, Extension, and Outreach Division. Mario's career has been defined by constant work in the food industry and academia. His experience includes working in companies such as Nestlé and AB&B. Currently, he's part of General Mills as a research and development scientist engineer, working in the technology team, giving support to different products. Welcome, Mario. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Maria Laura, for that introduction. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Of course. There you go. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I think I'm going to start saying this. Hopefully, my Turkish is not as bad as I think. So, hola, hello, and merhaba. Hopefully, and forgive me if this is not correct, but I've been taking Turkish classes over the past 24 hours. So welcome everybody. Again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the IFT ESPOL chapter, and thank you for the other IFT chapters that organize this innovation summit. I think this is very neat and very needed for you guys, and to kind of like learn more about these trends currently in the food industry. So today I am going to talk about upcycled food from trash to treasure. And then something that I found over the past 18 months of pandemic, I think is very important to kind of like break the ice, especially in these kind of conferences or talks. Just remember that what my intention here is not to lecture you, but like kind of have a conversation with you. So if you have any question, if you have any comment, feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute yourself at the end of the talk. We're going to try to address all these comments and questions. So kind of like a quick summary of myself. My family is, it's made of my wife, Michelle, who I met in ESPOL long time ago. We got married 2.5 years-ish ago. I have a dog and 2 cats. They're in Ecuador. And I am a dog lover. So like if you have a dog at the end of the meeting and you want to put it on camera, I'm totally fine. As Maria Laura said about my education background, I got my food engineering in ESPOL, and also I recently got a food science PhD from the University of Florida. And some of the hobbies that I have, especially throughout the pandemic, I kind of like specialize in home brewing. My research is about fermentation, beer fermentation, so I guess it makes sense that that's kind of like a hobby now. I work in different companies, and currently I'm working in General Mills. So again, if you have any questions about the talk today, but if you want to reach out after the talk to, I don't know, ask me about any other question regarding General Mills or any other companies, I'm very happy to answer them. Okay, so to start this talk, I think I'm going to start saying that one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's like for when we talk about upcycling or upcycled food products, this is a key to know. And this kind of like also encourage, or I'm trying to encourage you with this, is that to go out and talk to other people about what they're tossing, what organic waste they're tossing currently. I know that it might sound that you're a crazy person, but later in the talk, you're gonna see like how these like people that have products in the market currently, they start doing that. So if you have the chance to go to your neighbors, to your local breweries, to your local farmer market, go ahead and ask them, what are you wasting? What are you tossing away? And let me think about what can I do with this. Today, the talk is going to have a portion of understanding what food loss and food waste is, why is it problematic and why we need to understand. And we're going to explore a couple of products that are in the market. Towards the end, I'm going to talk about more of my experience with this making a product from scratch using Upcycle ingredients. So as I said before, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is food loss and food waste. And I think it's very logical to do it with a concept that we know intrinsically from our field, from our degrees, from farm to fork. Food loss, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization, is any discarded, incinerated, disposed food product, either ingredient, material, or product itself, from right before it reaches to the retail or any other food market. So pretty much the food suppliers and food farmers are the responsible of this food loss. And I'm gonna say responsible. Later on, I'm gonna explain why I do like that. But whatever is discarded at this point of the supply chain is gonna be considered a food loss, whereas food waste is what is discarded or tossed when after the product reaches retails, food markets, food service, and when we buy it. So again, this slide is not more like to find who's guilty about food loss and food waste, who do we need to point at, but it's more to understand where in the supply chain we're causing these two terms, food loss and food waste. I kind of like highlight consumers because I think that we are the main responsible group of people that we have to take an action on to prevent this food waste and food loss. Maybe again, consumers is more into the food waste side, but consumers, and especially us, that we are related to this to the food industry somehow, we have the chance to train, to educate the farmers and food suppliers to how to prevent food loss in their side. So now that we know or understand, like in the supply chain, when food loss and when food waste happen, I think it's important also to mention what to kind of like reflect what's the problematic of this loss and waste. By the year, like, but 2011, 33% of the food generated in the world was discarded. So it was considered food either loss or waste, but pretty much 1/3 of all the food that we had at that time, it was just tossed away. Most of it might be useful, but it didn't reach the market on the right time. People didn't buy it, or people buy it but then toss it because they didn't use it or consume it. The type of food that is lost or it's considered waste, to have like here some of the main groups that the European Parliament Research Service has determined. And then by 2013, cereals and roots and tubers were the biggest groups that were tossed away and considered food loss and waste. These are high in fibers, high in protein sometimes. So we have potential use of or potential design of a nutrition product using this kind of food waste and or food loss. And why it's important to understand that we are tossing away food, what this is causing to the environment. Well, again, the United Nations has determined that 10% of the greenhouse gases that are affecting the environment right now with the climate change and that other problematic, 10% of that greenhouse gases are caused by food waste and food loss. So yes, it's a problematic, and yes, if we can reduce that, I know that 10% may not sound like it's like a big problem, but if we can reduce that 10%, we're going to contribute to the environment, and certainly we're going to kind of like stop or prevent the climate change that we're suffering currently. So now that I talk about what's food loss, what's food waste, and why it's important to understand the problematic, now I'm going to talk about an upcycle, the upcycle technique or the upcycling process, which is pretty much an Asian tradition that pretty much you use what you have, use all what you have. And you may have not realized that we kind of like do this in our homes, especially for instance, where we're making chicken, and then your mom's or yourself, like you take out all the bones, carcass, and then put it on a broth, so on a pot, and then start boiling that to get some of the broth, and then use that to make another food product or another dish. Is that considered upcycling? Maybe, maybe not. That may be debatable, because at the end of the day, you're gonna still discard the bones that you used. But at least the idea is that you try to use as much as you can from one process, from one food product, to make other different products that and then try to have as nutrition as possible this new food product. Different definitions of upcycled foods has been determined. However, and this was recently around 2020, different groups associate and came up with this definition of upcycled food, especially the Harvard Law School, Drexel University here in Philadelphia, World Wildlife Foundation, and many other groups. They define upcycled food as they use ingredients that otherwise will not have gone to human consumption. So think about like best case scenario, this food waste was gonna be directed to animal feed, but worst case scenario, this food waste was gonna end in the landfill. So that's pretty much like what upcycled food encompass. Are procured and produced using verifiable supply chains. That means that we need to keep in mind that food safety is still the main goal whenever we're designing or processing a food product. And also it has a positive impact on the environment. So again, instead of like tossing, I don't know, like lettuce that you buy and you didn't eat, like do that and convert that into chips, or do something different, or like soup or something that you won't toss and it won't reach landfill, that it can be considered as an upcycled food. This upcycled food is a trend currently in 2021, named by the Food Network magazine and Whole Food Market, and something that might arise right now, like is upcycling food the solution or to prevent food waste? Maybe it is, but certainly it's not 100% the solution. The solution also comes with an understanding from ourselves, from our end, on what we're doing, how we're consuming things, and what kind of waste we're generating. This Upcycle certified logo that you see here, it's actually it was recently launched by the Upcycle Food Association, and it's like pretty much like organic. When you want to certify and you want to make sure that people know that you have an organic product, now you can do it, especially in the US. I don't know if it's worldwide, I'm not quite sure, but you can certify that your product is made with verifiable suppliers with Upcycle ingredients. Okay, so now that I talk about, again, what's upcycle, what's food loss, food waste, the problematic, now I'm going to talk about a little bit of two products that are in the market right now. And well, the first one that I'm going to talk about, I'm very proud. Again, I'm from Ecuador, and as you see next to the rice logo, there's an Ecuadorian flag. That doesn't mean that this is made in Ecuador, but it's made by an Ecuadorian, which I'm very proud of that. And it's very interesting, this story. While I was preparing for this talk, I've read and listened to different interviews that Berta Jimenez, a PhD in technology management, has given about this topic. And something that catch me like right away when she was giving an interview, she said like innovation always comes from seeing things with a different type of lens. And this kind of like ties from what I told you in the beginning. Go to your neighbors, go to your local breweries and ask them, what are you tossing away? What are you discarding? How can I use this? How can I take this that most of people think is trash into treasure? The idea of Bertha, it was to take these products from breweries to bakery. And again, this product fascinates me for many different reasons. The first one is an Ecuadorian, which of course that's not biased at all. But the second one, it's because it involves breweries. And as Maria Laura said at the beginning, I also said at the beginning, my research was about beer fermentation. So I know and I understand what's the problematic in the breweries. What Bertha did is to take some brewer suspend grains, and kind of like a high level definition of brewer suspend grains is pretty much the grains that are left over after you take all the sugars from the grains, when you convert the starches into simple sugars so yeast can ferment them and turn them into alcohol and other products, of course. These grains that are leftovers in the tanks, that's what Bertha took it and then dry, ground, and turn it into a flour. Now, just so you know, like an idea, every year up to 42 million tons of these grains are discarded, are tossed away worldwide. So this is a lot of food waste. The idea of Bertha here was to create, again, a super flour made out of these spent grains. And compared to all-purpose flour, this super flour had like 1/3 of the carbs, 2 times the concentration of proteins, and 12 times the concentration of fiber. So it's like a super ingredient that you can use it in many different ways, similar as any other flour that you have in the market right now. So again, the idea of Bertha was not to make one product per se, but make one ingredient that people can use in many different ways as you want. That's why in their website, they have brownies, brownie mix, granolas, but they have like the main like star is the super flour, the Bertha designed with the help of other people. Interesting of this story, Bertha is not a food scientist. It's not a food engineer. She didn't know about beer or food science or anything about food before she started doing this. She is a mechanical engineer from ESPOL, from our university in Ecuador. And she one day went to a brewery and asked them, like, hi, I'm not here for your beer. I'm here for your waste. And voila, then she had like a product in a company now. So very interesting. Also, I'm leaving the accounts, the Instagram accounts. So if you want to like learn about more about them, their story, their life, their products, please feel free about reaching out. The next product that I'm going to talk about is acari, which is from Mexico, as you see, like the Mexican flag next to it. And again, this is a product that is actually made in Mexico. The problematic of this, or the story behind of this product is that Mike Mitchell, he went to Tabasco, Mexico around 2015-ish, and then he started seeing that there was like an invasive species of fish in Mexico that was affecting the fishermen and the economy of the town. So back in that time, he decided to, okay, let's talk about this fish. The fish was called in Spanish pez diablo, which in English is devil fish. And then he started talking about this product with the fishermen, and then trying to create the awareness of what to do, how to deal with it. But it did not happen, or he didn't start making the food product until he actually visited Las Patronas, which is a group of women that they work pretty much like the whole year making food for migrants that cross Tabasco, looking for a better future, I guess. And that's what, like, that kind of like inspiration make Mike to turn into like give the next step of trying to do something with this devil fish. And at the end, he decided to take the fish, put in a dehydrator, and make fish jerky out of it. So again, many things about this fish. It's called devil fish. It has a lot of skins, a lot of bones. So it's not, they don't find it edible or like tasty at all. But when you take out some of the parts and when you convert this into fish jerky, you're not just helping the environment, but you're also helping the population, but boosting the local employment and helping them economically. So that's also a very interesting story. Again, Mike, it's not a food scientist. He doesn't have a food background, a food science or engineering background. He's a marketing and environmental management background. So just to raise the awareness that we are supposed to be the ones who like champion this topic, and maybe we need to like be more hands-on this kind of products. Unfortunately, when I was preparing to this for this conference, I did not find a product from Turkey or from a Turkish person. So my apologies, but I'm pretty sure that there should be something out there. So kind of like a homework, if you want to do it, go and try to find what other products you can find, not just like from Turkey or that area, no, from South America, but like worldwide, what you can find and how you can get inspired by these people. The next part of this presentation is more like my experience with working with Upcycle Ingredients. And the first thing that I'm going to say is I'm going to acknowledge my team. This was this team competed in the national product development of the American Society of Baking with the product Ocara waffle. And it's, of course, the team was made by myself. I was the team captain of this team. Victor Cedeño, who's a master's in food science from the University of Florida. Vigny Leandro is also a master's in food science from the University of Florida. And Devanshu Mehta is a science PhD student. He's still in grad school. But like, see all these different cultural backgrounds. You may not see the education background, but for instance, Victor is a chemical engineer, Vigny is an agricultural engineer, Devanshu is a packaging engineer, I am a food engineer. So we do have different backgrounds, and we end up making, no bias at all, like a very tasty and good product. So the product description that we made, we end up making a stroop waffle. That's the name of the product. This stroopwafel is very well known, especially if you want to have like on the go snack, or if you travel and certain airlines give you this kind of treat. And it's pretty much a sandwich made by 2 cookies and a fill of caramel in the center. We decide to use the same concept, but make it with the upcycle ingredient, which was the challenge of the competition, but also make it more nutritious. So that's why we decide to use, first of all, for the cookies, Ocara flour. Ocara flour comes, or it's obtained from the bagasse, or the food waste from the tofu and soy meal production. They dry it, they mill it, they sieve, and then that's how we have the Ocara flour. Similar to Bertha's idea, it's very much a flour that you can use it in any product that you want. And then again, the challenge was to use the challenge was to use one upcycle ingredient in your food product, and your baked food product, but we decided to go big or go home. So instead of like doing the caramel filling, and like this is like caramel is like mostly sugar, and other components are not that nutritious to the consumer, we decided to twist that or change that and make a filling, like a jelly filling for the sandwich. For that, we decided to use blueberry pumice from a locally winery in Florida, a local winery in Florida. And again, the idea of the pumice, or the blueberry pumice, is that when wineries make, or they start to make wine, they press the fruit, they take out all the juice, and then whatever is left, like the pulp or like seeds or anything else, it's discarded. So good thing about blueberries, like we were able to grab a bunch of them. You may see like a blackish color, but like in person, the color was more purple bright, which I think it was very appealing. And some of the claims that we have with this product that we designed was, first of all, we decided to use 2 upcycle ingredients, which I think it was a plus in our competition. But in the idea of using upcycle or designing upcycle food is like it's a good thing that you were able to, or we were able to manage to introduce 2 upcycle ingredients and make it work. We didn't use any artificial coloring or flavoring. The color, as I mentioned before, is a kind of like a purple, bright color of the filling. And unfortunately, when the wineries press the fruit, they also remove some of the flavors from the blueberry. So it was kind of bland. It didn't have any like major flavor associated with the pumice. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That means that we were able to use that as whatever we want. And that's why we end up deciding to use natural flavors, natural berry flavors, to kind of like give this a kick of fruity filling. Is a good source of fiber and rich in antioxidants, especially the antioxidants coming from the blueberry pumice. We repurpose the processing of the waste from the tofu and soy meal production, and also the winery production. And then we end up making a little bit even more than it was expected, because again, when we talk about food product development, or when you design a food product, you try to make a coherent idea or concept of your food product. It doesn't make sense that, for instance, we're trying to reduce food waste by using flour or pumice, and then we put that in 3 different packages. Yeah, we might be able, or we might be reducing the food waste, but we're increasing the amount of package that is tossed, and also cause a pollution in the environment. So at the end, I'm gonna show you the idea that we had to make this like kind of holistic concept of our product. So after we make this product, we run some sensory analysis. Most of the panelists agreed that the overall appearance, flavor, and like it was above average. And in terms of the filling, The berry flavor and the sweetness was just about right. So that means that we designed a product that it has a potential to be in the market. The purchase intent was 3.4/5, so that means that people are at least interested in buying the food product that we designed. Cost analysis, and I'm not gonna bore you with this boring things on how we calculate this cost, but like this is something that actually I was one of the questions from yesterday's talk, like how expensive is to make functional food. Well, yesterday that was the question, and I think it was important for me to say that because we're working with food waste, the product may not be as expensive as you think. However, there's a risk there that because it's a food waste and not a lot of people is working with that, we may have a limited amount of suppliers that can affect our cost. Regardless of that, when we calculate the cost of the Ocara waffle and we compare with the existing competitors of Stroop waffles in the market, we saw that our waffle was within the range of the prices that are currently in the market. So it's doable. I think that we have a good concept. The challenge or the goal of the challenge was achieved by using the 2 upcycle ingredients. And now with the market strategies, of course, you want to do it because this Stroop waffle is linked to airlines. We decided to do kind of like a agreement with like some airlines, of course, in our world. We had that conversation with the airlines. But here's what I said, and I mentioned about like the holistic concept of your product. We decide to not just do a good, functional, nutritious, and product that's going to impact positively the environment, but also the packaging that we were designing, the box that we put the waffles in was it has another use after we consume all the waffles. And then at the end, we thought about some line extensions. So thinking pretty much about any other fruit that is discarded either from the fruit industry, sorry, from the juice industry, wineries, and any other industry that uses fruits and vegetables. But we came across with one question. So as you saw, the Stroop waffle has like a round shape, and to get that, we cut the edges so they have like clean, sharp edge. One day in one of our meetings, Vigny came out and said like, what we're gonna do with this, with all the crumbles and all the waste that we're generating. Like again, we try to make as coherent concept as possible. Of course, if you can't, you can't. But she said like, okay, let's give me those crumbles. I'll come up with an idea that I have right now. Next day or next meeting, she came with a pie crust made out of the crumbles. So that means that we try to reach as use food waste to make our product and not to prevent the generation of more food waste. That's pretty much the idea that we had when we were competing in this product development competition. That happens early this year. It was still a pandemic year, so it was online and virtual conference, and that's Devanshu and me celebrating the second place that we obtained. There were like very interesting and good products. One was made out of bread and spent grains and spent coffee. And then another one was with banana and banana peels. So it was like very interesting products, and we got the second place. So we were happy about that. That was my experience. Again, it was a nice experience, especially because we did it like in a competition setup. It was not real life, so we were not investing as much money as you think that we did. And then I love to work with this like crazy guys that I met in grad school. So I think with that, I want to say gracias. Turlash. Hopefully I said that correctly. And thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm open to any question, comment, or anything you want to discuss about this topic. I think this is a nice trend, and I think that we are the ones who are called to be championing this.
So Mario, I have a question for you. Well, first of all, thank you for your support in this activity, and it's amazing what the guys did with this summit. So, well, my question is more about the consumer acceptance, or so what do you think people have this attitude to the waste or the food loss? Do you think this could be a problem? Like, you know, some people may relate waste like a negative aspect or something like that. So did you consider that aspect when you develop your product? And in general, what do you think this could be a problem or not for upcycling food?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think that like when we're doing when we're disrupting what we have currently, of course the consumer question is gonna come up. Like, is consumer good with this? Like, are they gonna buy it? I know it has like awesome claims, but are consumers okay with this? Yes, we did kind of like analyze or like ask the questions when we were doing the sensory panels. Of course, at the beginning, we didn't want to bias them, so we let them try the sandwich, the waffle. They kind of like mark whatever they thought it was with the scales, and then at the end, we kind of introduced the idea of stroop waffle, or sorry, Ocara waffle is made of this ingredient, which is obtained from the waste process or as a byproduct. Of course, you have to be very careful when you're kind of introducing this. You don't want to say trash waste, you know, but we kind of like claim it as a byproduct of this process. We know that that's waste, but people were like kind of interested in this kind of a concept. They thought, of course, if you're giving this to somebody, and as I said during the talk, food safety is something that we're not negotiating. So food safety is always there. So even if we're taking this from a waste source, we still guarantee that food safety is there. So they were like, okay, if it's safe to eat and it's tasty, let's see what else it has. So the part that they were more interested in was the nutritious part. So high fiber, some of them, for instance, like aspartame, it was high protein. But they were also interested in environmental change, environmental impact. So when we kind of introduced the environmental impact in the concept of the Ocara waffle, they were like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. I mean, like I'm eating like a treat, nutritious, it's sweet, kind of like calms my cravings, but I'm also helping the world, pretty much like I'm a superhero. So yeah, like people were aware of that, and they were kind of like interested in that. I've heard from some podcasts and people that have the products right now in the market that consumers sometimes they eat the product without knowing that they have the product has upcycle ingredients, but they're okay with that. I mean, and now if we have a logo that says it's upcycle, again, this is gonna kind of like enhance or kind of encourage people to try it, and then people will be like, okay, I'm making a good thing right now by eating this. So yeah, good question.
Great. Thank you, Mario.
Sure, no problem.
So thank you, Mario, for sharing this valuable information with all of us. If anyone has any questions, you can now activate your microphones and ask our speaker directly. Or if you prefer, you can ask your questions in the available chat and we will read it.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat that says, how long is the shelf life of this kind of product? That's again an interesting question. It depends on the product that you're designing. For instance, in our case, the competition had like another kind of like condition that we have to make sure that it was shelf stable for at least 14 days. And due to time constraints, we only test for those 14 days. But based on water activity and packaging, we expect that shelf life of our Ocara waffle lasts at least 3 to 6 months. Again, like in the case of Bertha, because she's making a flour, flowers can last like years. So again, depending on the type of product that you want to make with these upcycle ingredients.
So Maria, I have another question. You did this product in a product development competition, right? So
right.
Maybe can you tell us what were the other products that other teams did?
Yeah, well, so my memory is not that good, but like as far as I remember, the first place they made a product with bread and coffee and spent grains. So it was neat, the product, I have to say, well earned that first place, because they make like a toast shape kind of like snacks made out of, again, like this bread, and then they mix the three like especially the spent grains, they turn it into a flour with the bread, and then they make this shape. If you want to have like different flavors, they had pumpkin spice, coffee, and I don't remember what other flavor they had, but that was pretty much like the first place. Well, ours was the second place, and then the third place was if I'm not wrong, it was a kind of like donut made of banana peels. So again, banana peels, dry flour, and then use that flour to make the dough, and you can give like different flavors to that. So yeah, I think that those were the three products.
Okay. So people are shy today. I don't know what happened.
It's the last day, you know? But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
yeah, I want to say thank you so much, Mario Guadalupe, for your value and interesting lecture. And on behalf of the student group of IFTSA of Monterrey, IFTS-ESPOL chapter, and IFTSA METU, we will send you this recognition for as a token of your appreciation.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So even clapping is kind of boring on Zoom. I missed physical presentation.
Same.
Mario, I have a last question. So what are your suggestions or anything you would like to recommend if we want to go to I don't know, like you know, people are going to work in the industry, and this upcycling thing, I think it's becoming popular. So what are your final recommendations to our future professionals if they want to use these cards and reduce food loss?
Sure. I think the first thing that you have to make sure, especially if you're in an innovation team, R&D, it's think outside of the box. Go again. This sounds crazy. Like you go around asking for waste. It's like who are you? But at the end, you like, because you have the knowledge, you have the background, you know what like the components of a food matrix is, you can take that, like understand the lines, like the processing line, take the waste, and like think about products that they don't have to be new, they don't have to be novel, they don't have to be like your idea itself. You can, as we did, like the Stroop waffle is very well established, and what we did is to boost it, or like try to make it more nutritious and of course impact the environment. That's pretty much what you want to do. Like you want to use the waste of your processing lines and then make them into a either well-known product if you have a product. And again, it doesn't have to be a finished product. It can be an ingredient. So you can make it, you can turn it into a flour, you can turn it into chips, you can turn it into, I don't know, like toppings. So the best advice that I think I have to you all, and that's something that I kind of like following right now, it's like go to the processing lines and understand what is and how they process the food product and what is discarded, to think about like how they do it and what you can do with that. I think, I don't know, it sounds crazy, but I think that's a good way to start. And then after you have the ingredient, and then everything is gonna come along. But the first thing is think outside the box, ask for waste, and assess. I don't know.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
if
go ahead.
there are no more questions,
There is another question in the chat.
okay.
It
Yeah,
says, what
mhm.
risks exist in the elaboration of these products?
Yeah, well, in that case, it depends. It depends on how you treat the product. Like for instance, and that's an interesting question. The food waste, of course, because most of the companies discard this product. They don't care about how to store them after they are produced or generated. It happened to us that, for instance, when the first time that we were trying to make the jelly out of the blueberry pumice, the blueberry pumice was sitting in outside, well, not outside, but in the winery for like a couple of hours, maybe a day or two, until it came to our laboratory, and then we use it to make the jelly. But when we opened the back of that blueberry pumice, because it was not dry, it was still wet, it was already fermented. So I cannot describe the smell of that bag, but it was not pleasure. I mean, it was not a pleasure to open that bag and like smell whatever was going on in there. Certainly different microorganisms growing up and, I don't know, living la vida loca there. But it was something that we kind of consider for the next time when the winery was making the wine. We went there, we asked them to grab the pumice, put it in the bags and freeze it right away. So we kind of like slow down the fermentation until we kind of like use it, thaw, and then process or like make the jelly. So the risks, I think it depends on how is the manipulation of this waste once is generated. That's something that you have to keep an eye on. If it's, for instance, the cookie, make sure that the cookie goes to a storage that is safe, that it doesn't have any hazard, any biological hazard, any physical hazard, any chemical hazard. And then don't think that, oh, of course, this is waste. It doesn't matter if it touched the ground and then we can use it for another thing. That's not how it works. Again, food safety is first. And I think that if we understand food safety, the risks are going to be, you're going to be able to assess the risks.
Well, we have another question. It says, you have already mentioned, but I'm not clear enough, cost of the raw materials must obviously be cheaper than fresh ones, I guess. But in this case, cost of the final.
I can keep going. It says, in this case, cost of the final product is mostly coming from the upcycle processing. So upcycling process, right? It is more expensive than any other conventional process to get a safety edible to any other product? Well, it's, yeah, mostly it comes from the processing of these turning this waste into the ingredient that you want to make. Definitely, for instance, when we are making flour, we have to pay for the grains, right? The price of the grains plus the processing of the grains plus the packaging of the grains of the flour, that's gonna be the price of your flour in a conventional way. If you're trying to make flour out of waste source or a byproduct source, that cost of that byproduct or waste is going to be much cheaper. The process may be the same. It may not change that much because you may have the same equipment, you may have the same capacity, you may even have the same packaging. So it's going to be a little bit cheaper because of your raw material. It's going to be cheaper compared to a conventional way on how to make flour. And I use flour just like as an example, but that's the idea. Like the idea is that your raw material, the ingredients that you start with are not as expensive as a fresh, ready to go ingredient or material. Yeah, sure.
If anyone has any questions, thank you so much, Mario. So with this concludes the Food Innovation Summit 2021 event. We thank everyone for your attendance. Before you leave, we want to take a picture with you all. So please turn on your camera so we can all appear.
Oh, here they are. I'm just kidding.
Okay, I will take the picture. 1, 2, and 3. Wait a minute. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for organizing this. I hope to work with you again soon.
Eddie, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, September 25 for a cultural activity of the 3 countries. So we would like to see you there. Thank you.